Guys, welcome back to my channel. This is Mayur. So today we are going to see the basic fundamentals of software testing. So in this section we will cover what is software testing, what are the different types of software testing, and at the end we'll see the differences between manual and automation testing. Okay, so moving on, we'll start with what is software testing. So, software testing is basically the validation of functionality of a software application using manual or automated techniques. It's an important part of the SDLC or the software development life cycle, and it helps improve the quality of the final product. To give you a perspective, if we have to, as a user, log into any application, say banking application, and we need to perform some transactions, for example fund transfer, then we need to make sure that that particular functionality is working fine because it is critical to banking. And that is what we do as part of software testing. We test the usability, we test the functionality of the software product before the product is released into production environment and the users start using, or the end users or the customers start using the product. Okay, moving on. Okay, now we'll look at what are the different types of software testing. So the first one is functional testing. Functional testing is basically validating the functionality of the applications. So if we are looking at some application like Facebook, we would be checking whether we are able to log in, we are able to create profile, and so on. So that is basically the functionality of that application, and that is what we are going to test as part of functional testing. The next one is regression testing. Regression testing is basically running a set of tests for every release build to validate whether the existing functionalities are working fine and they conform to the requirements. So you could consider it as a set of tests which gets run for every release build, and which are basically testing all the existing functionalities to make sure that they work fine. Okay, so the next one is smoke testing. Smoke testing is basically done to validate the stability of the build. So every time a QA gets a build to test, we would be doing a smoke testing to make sure that the build is stable. If the smoke testing fails, we would immediately reject the build. Next we have is sanity testing. Sanity testing is basically validating the core functionalities of the application and to make sure that the critical use cases are working fine. It is usually done when we get a new build, and we start the testing for that particular build. Okay, so next one is usability testing. So usability testing or user testing is nothing but a design process which enables you to evaluate your product or services with real users and enables you to create human-centric products. So through this process you can really explore and analyze your target audience's behavior when interacting with your product. The next one is UAT testing or user acceptance testing. This is basically not carried out by QA, but we have dedicated users who go ahead and make use of the application and test the functionalities of the application from a user's point of view. So this is basically a type of testing performed by the end users or the client to verify or accept the software system before moving the software application to the production environment. Okay, so next one is load testing. So load testing is basically a type of testing wherein you validate the amount of load or stress the application can take before it breaks down. It is nothing but the number of analogous users or threads the application can sustain before its applicability degrades down. Okay. So the last one is exploratory testing, wherein the QA explores around the application without any definitive test steps or test cases. Okay, so these are all the types of software testing that are being carried out. Moving on, we'll look at the difference between manual and automation testing. So the first point is for manual testing, we are basically using manual techniques to perform the testing. Whereas in case of automation, we use performance testing tools. Manual testing is a process in which QA analysts execute the tests one by one in an individual manner. Whereas in automation, these tests are executed automatically via test automation frameworks along with other tools and softwares. Manual testing, it is understandably slow because it requires manual effort and it is sometimes tedious as well. Automation testing, on the other hand, is much faster and it covers a number of permutation of the test data, which means every test case would pass a numerous combination of test data, which ensures a large coverage. For manual testing requires extensive domain and application knowledge. So the person who is doing the testing should be well versed with the application and the requirements. Whereas for automation, the person doing automation testing requires good coding skills and it requires test maintenance as well. Manual testing is difficult to ensure sufficient test coverage because it takes a lot of times. And if there are a lot of test cases, then we would basically skip a few of them to save time. But that is not the case in automation testing because automation testing could basically ensure greater test coverage by running a number of test cases. It doesn't require any manual intervention, so you could just put it on run and it should basically cover all the functionalities which are incorporated using the test script. So this was all about the basics of software testing. We'll see you next time. Thank you.